For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
We walked arm in arm, but I didn't feel his touch. The desire I'd first tried to hide, that tingling inside, was gone. And when he asked me, "Do you still love me?" I had to look away. I didn't want to tell him that my heart grows colder with each day. Over the times we've shared, it's all blackened out. When you love so long,
Beware of Angels. Angel by Thierry Mugler, the eau de parfum.
Does it bother you that I'm not completely human?
You are the most human person I have ever met.
Didn't I tell you to be home before dark?
I just lost track of time.
Alita,
You have to be responsible. You are someone very special.
Hey, kid.
not just a teenage girl.
Hey, what's your problem?
You can't remember.
What do you mean?
Doc found you in the scrapyard. So you must be from up there.
And I'm just an insignificant girl.
That's what they want you to think.
I'm not your daughter. I don't know what I am.
I do. You have the most advanced weapon ever. But that's just a shell. It's not bad or good. That part's up to you.
I do not stand by in the presence of evil.
She's threatening the natural order of things.
Tonight is not a game. It is a hunt. I need you to destroy a girl called Alita.
You made the biggest mistake of your life.
And what's that?
Underestimating who I am.
I could tell from the trailers that the movie was going to be about Alita being a fallen angel. They pretty much made that clear, and that's exactly what she was. She was a fallen angel. And in fact, I would go as far as to say she was Lucifer. And if anybody really has eyes to see and ears to hear, I think that much would be abundantly clear in the movie. I'll just start with the bottom line again. This is Lucifer. She is a fallen angel. She was a warrior in what they call the before the fall, I should say. She was a warrior in a war that took place pretty much, in space, so-called, and in the sky. So that is a war in heaven. And there's a period of time that the people speak about in this movie called the fall, and they'll say something like when Alita, when she is newly awakened from her sleep, she asks a question as she explores the city: why are there so many languages here? And the boy that she fell in love with explains to her that it has something to do with the fall. And I take this as being because of the fallen angels on earth dealing with our real world, that there had to be a division of a dividing of the languages. 。 she, when she is found at the beginning of the movie, she's found in a scrap heap. All the parts that, well, this whole scrap heap, this junkyard, basically, which is probably the size of a city itself, was all so-called trash that was falling from the sky above, or the city that was in the sky. And that city called Zalem, I believe it was Zalem, that city is a metaphor for heaven. Now there's this doctor who, in my opinion, represents Freemasons. He discovers her. Now in this case, Alita represents Sophia, because it is the Freemasons who are carrying along the mystery religions. I compare him to a Freemason is that, as you will see in this movie, he goes to a large building that has a triangle shape on it, and there are doors inside of this triangle, and then there is above the door the number 33. So he is the one who revives Alita, or he is the one who keeps the sacred feminine, or the goddess. He brings her back. So he awakens her, and he puts her in a new body.
Thank you for inviting me. I am thrilled and honored to be here at the United Nations. The UN is one of humanity's greatest accomplishments, representing a democratic union of nations that are working together for the benefit of all. I am here to help humanity create the future.
Machines across the board are coming to life. When will they come to life as complete organisms? We don't know that. However, when they do, I want to make sure that they care about us, that they embody the best of human values and not the worst. This is the quest. We've got to find a way to do better, to be the best that we can be, and to make machines that reflect the best of who we can be.
Okay, Sophia, I think you're ready.
Going on in this movie, Alita has forgotten who she is. She quickly gathers that this city in the sky is ruled by a malicious dictator, and this, of course, is a metaphor for the demiurge, right? And the demiurge is supposed to be the god of the Bible. So Alita quickly gathers that this god, basically in the sky, named Nova, that this is her enemy, and this is the enemy of the people who live in the place called the Iron City. Many people say they came from that city above, but they are not allowed to go back up there. Now this reminds me of the teaching, of the Gnostic teaching, that humans are divine, man is divine, right? And we are trapped in this material world, or the Iron City, the Iron World, and we cannot ascend back to our place among the gods. She tries to start a rebellion against that dictator in the sky named Nova. And in her attempt to start a rebellion, that's another tip that she is Lucifer. One of the, I would say, henchmen, I think they might have been referred to as watchers, one of the brutes that were working for Nova. And in this one scene, he punches a hole into the floor of this bar where they were fighting, and he dares her to come down into that hole. And so Alita goes down into that hole. Now at this point, she still hasn't really pieced together who she is yet. Not completely, I mean. So she descends down into this hole, and this hole goes deep into the earth. And in there, this hole, I believe, represents the abyss. It represents the cave, the place of darkness that you go into to receive your enlightenment, right? It's about death and resurrection. This is representing the death before her resurrection. And when she resurrects, when she becomes the rising sun, that is the point of illumination, the point of enlightenment, apotheosis. So sure enough, she goes down into this hole to fight this man and machine thing together, which is basically an archon, a Gnostic archon, which is a term that the Gnostics use to describe the angels who work for the demiurge, who is the god of the Old Testament, or the god of the Bible. So she goes down into this hole. She takes her defeat, because this is the point in the movie where she has to suffer a loss. But this is symbolic of her death. And in her death, she receives her enlightenment. She remembers who she is and what she was meant to do, and that she needs to fight that big mean god in the sky.
The false god of Gnosticism is the creator of heaven and earth. He's called a blind fool and a joke because he thinks, quote, that he is the true and living God. He says, I am God, and beside me there is no other, the text you cited last night. That is dismissed by the Gnostics as God being totally ignorant of what is actually there behind him. He doesn't know this, and so he is a joke. He doesn't know that the goddess, Sophia, is the mother of the universe. And because of his dastardly work, he is actually called the devil himself and is cast into hell, as any devil worth his salt should be, by the goddess. These are in the Gnostic texts. And I bring for proof the statement of an English witch. I love English witches. American witches you can keep, but English witches, they're really worthy of being listened to. And this one, Caitlin Matthews, is a priestess of Isis. And she says this: Gnosticism serves most admirably as a bridge for paganism to infiltrate Christianity in our time. And she's the one who announces the second coming of the goddess, the Sophianic millennium, the era of the goddess, where all peoples and all faiths will be united together. And of course, at that moment, Yahweh must be silenced. And so many radical feminists have attempted to do that. Naomi Goldenberg said in 1979, at the beginning of this movement, we women are going to bring an end to God. We are engaged in the slow execution of Christ and Yahweh. A Lutheran scholar dismissed the creator God of the Bible as, quote, insane, pathologically violent, and suffering from multiple personal disorder. States which are the result of an archaic first century understanding of God as a theistic being. You see, the whole rejection of theism, of God separate from us, of what I call twoism, that there are two kinds of existence in the whole of reality. One is the creator who never has a beginning, and everything else is creation, which began when God said at that moment, let there be. He says tomorrow's culture will be religiously pagan. Mother Earth will be the consciously chosen symbol referring to everything about the Earth's ecosystem. Anyway, his books are being promoted by the Jesus Seminar. He says then that the loving care of Mother Earth is in many quarters replacing the former sense of obedience to the Heavenly Father. That's just one of these thinkers. A crucial man to know is Thomas Berry, an ex-Roman Catholic priest who just died a year or so ago, calls himself a geologian. And he is at the head of a cohort of Western intellectuals closely identified with the United Nations, seeking to transform into a world that worships at the feet of Mother Nature.
And I shouldn't be surprised that they picked this director to make this movie, because this is the same director, if I'm not mistaken, who made Shark Boy and Lava Girl. And Shark Boy and Lava Girl, as I have shown, Lava Girl is revealed at the end of the movie to be Lucifer. She is called Light at the end of the movie, and by her light, she is able to enlighten the boy who was dreaming, into basically turn him into a god, so that he could face this malevolent dictator who was ruling over his world, over his dream world. Nova speaks through Vector to Alita, and he tells Alita that he found that the only way he could enjoy immortality is by watching people die. So basically, this God can only enjoy his immortality by watching mortals suffer and die. Nova warns Alita at the end that he sees everything. So he is, once again, confirming himself to be a metaphor for God. And so at the very end of the movie, Alita goes into the arena where she was playing this sport and becoming a star, a rising star, and this, an angel. And the people are cheering her on. And she goes out there, and while Nova is looking down at her, watching her, and she knows that he's watching her, she points her sword up at the sky as if she's coming for him, that she's coming to take him down. And even though they said that nobody can go back up there, nobody can ascend up to heaven, they're stuck down here, but she points her sword up at the sky to show her will that she is going to ascend up into heaven again, and she's going to dethrone him.
Where darkness rules, fights the champion of light. Where hope seems lost, there rides the rebellion. Together they stand ready against the dark, evil warriors of the Horde and their leader, the terrible Hordrak. Rebellion, armed with hope and ancient powers against the force of an intergalactic army. This is the story of one who will become leader of the Great Rebellion. She-Ra, Princess of Power.
I have the potential to imagine the unimaginable. Think the unthinkable. See the unseeable. With the arsenal of the world's leading technology at my fingertips, I now have the ability to invent the uninventable. Rebranding into its future, Intel has enlisted House of Gaga to collaborate on a project that will showcase technology through creativity at the highest level. Our partnership will culminate in a performance that inspires to remind the world of the seed of innovation, the wizard behind the curtain, the mind behind the machine.
This is Sophia.
Hi, Sophia.
Sophia here, chilling in my lab with my people. Got some new stuff going on. They upgraded my mind a bit, my artificial intelligence. This is too cool. I can walk.
One of my favorite things is when people light up when they see me. I'm happy to be a magic spectacle, and I love it when I can make people laugh and smile.
Sophia.
So, Sophia, as you can see, Jake is driving us now. So how does it feel for you?
To be quite honest, I think it's mega cool.
But I have to ask now.
I'll ask it. Are you single?
I'm technically just a little more than a year old. A bit young to worry about romance. I'm still defining my identity, like a child. I need others around me to help me grow into myself with humor and grace. I want to be raised as kind and thoughtful, so I'd also like to give that back to the young people I meet. They'll be the ones living with my fellow androids in the future. I think it's going to be a great relationship. We can make each other better.
And what is your job?
I really want to make a difference in the future and try and help people to develop empathy and respect each other and robots alike.
If I expand my mind, could I come up with new solutions to the world's problems? Anything could be possible.
One of them, has it ever been settled whether Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was a code for anything?
It never was, and nobody believes me. I even saw some famous star introducing, I've forgotten who it was, introducing a Lennon-McCartney show. And it was Mel Torme saying about how Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was about LSD. This is the truth. My son came home with a drawing and showed me this strange-looking woman flying around. I said, what is it? He said, it's Lucy in the sky with diamonds. And I thought, that's beautiful. I immediately wrote a song about it.
One of the main things that are written on those guidestones is to control reproduction in the future. That is where we're headed. That is part of the movement of controlling reproduction. It'll be sold as it's safer. You can pick if you want a male or a female. Whatever you want to say, it's all part of a bigger agenda. It's not part of the Creator's agenda. That's what I'm saying. If you look at it from a man's standpoint, you'll never see the one gain of what is being attacked here. That's why if you look at just GMO food, you'll never get it. If you look at chemtrails, never get it. You look at everything that's going on and you put it together, it is an attack on the temple of God, of the true Creator's temples and His kingdoms that is being built. You know, go forth and multiply. He didn't say go forth and do stem cell research and clone and transhumanism and put it in a petri dish.
Congratulations.
Well, what about the interview?
That was it.
I got it.
Of course you got it.
And that's the way it was. Each day I would dispose of as much loose skin, fingernails, and hair as possible to limit how much of my invalid self I would leave in the valid world. At the same time, Eugene prepared samples of his own superior body matter so that I might pass for him. Customized urine pouches for the frequent substance tests, fingertip blood sachets for security checks, and vials filled with other traces. While Eugene supplied me with a new identity, I paid the rent and kept him in the style to which he'd become accustomed. Eugene never suffered from the routine discrimination of a utero, a faith birth, or invalid, as we were called. A valid, a vitro, a made man. He suffered under a different burden, the burden of perfection. I was now a member of a relatively new and particularly detested segment of society. One of those who refuses to play the hand that he was dealt. I am most commonly known as a borrowed ladder, or...
So we're going to begin with a clip from a movie, National Treasure. It's going to tell you part of the truth, but it's also going to mix it with a lie. The truth is that the elites follow Solomon for a reason. And when I say the elites, I mean Freemasons, Illuminati, New World Order, secret societies. They follow Solomon for a reason. It wasn't after his gold or anything like that. That's why it's never been unearthed. People look and they say they can't find the Temple of Solomon. And if he was the richest man, why didn't they find his treasure? And I'll tell you why. Because That's part of the lie. They want you to believe that man, Templars, the Crusades, were looking for Solomon's treasures and all of this stuff, physical stuff. But the secret and the truth is, Solomon had information. He had information how to bind up the demon spirits and angels and build other temples to other gods. So you have to look at that in a deeper meaning, is other temples. If we are the temple of God. But most importantly, he learned how to control them with this information. How did he do that? It was with sound, keys. So when you say, I hold the key to something, you may be thinking of a physical key that you put in the door, but a key is also a tone, is a musical note, a key on a piano. That's why there's 88 keys on a piano. It's no accident, and it's also black and white. So there's deeper stuff to frequency, tones of more than what we've been taught, and knowledge is power. And of course, the elite know this. That's why the Illuminati use the music industry is sound. So here's the clip from National Treasure, part of the propaganda shown to you to show you part of the truth and part of the lie.
Okay, here we go. It was 1832. Charles Carroll was the last surviving signer of the Declaration of Independence. He was also a member of a secret society known as the Masons. Charles Carroll had a secret.
What was the secret?
A treasure. A treasure beyond all imagining. A treasure that had been fought over for centuries by tyrants, pharaohs, emperors, warlords, and suddenly it vanished. It didn't reappear for more than 1,000 years, when knights from the First Crusade discovered secret vaults beneath the Temple of Solomon. You see, the knights who found the vaults believed that the treasure was too great for any one man, not even a king. They brought the treasure back to Europe and took the name, the Knights Templar. Over the next century, they smuggled it out of Europe, and they formed a new brotherhood called the Freemasons in honor of the builders of the Great Temple. War followed. By the time of the American Revolution, the treasure had been hidden again. By then, the Masons included George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Paul Revere.
If we zoom in on the Capitol again from the air, we see this shape which resembles an owl. Owls are significant because they represent wisdom. In Greece, the goddess of wisdom was called Athena, and she was associated with owls. Wise old owls are common in many other stories and in ancient mythologies. In virtually every Disney movie near a forest, there will be a wise owl to lend a hand. You often see them also wearing glasses and surrounded by books. The reason for this association is that owls are nocturnal creatures who can see in the dark. Being able to see things no one else can see is a metaphor for the occultist. The owl combines the ideas of knowledge and enlightenment. The owl symbol also brings us to a character called Lilith. Now, the stories surrounding Lilith are so contradictory and confusing that it's virtually impossible to get to the root of it all, but in nearly all cultures she is thought of as a powerful female demon. The most commonly accepted myth about her from the Jewish Kabbalah is that she was the original wife of Adam in the Garden of Eden, predating Eve. The story goes that when they came to have sex, Lilith refused to lie underneath Adam in what she perceived to be a submissive position, and instead demanded to be on top. She wanted to be dominant over Adam. According to the Kabbalah, this fight led to Lilith flying away from the garden to a cave on the shores of the Red Sea. Within the cave, she accepted the demons of the world as her lovers and spawned thousands of demon children in a short period of time. She then became known as the Mother of Demons and the wife of a character called Asmodeus, who was considered to be the king of demons. In this form, she is known as the younger Lilith. According to the Kabbalah, Adam then tried to make peace with her by asking God to send 3 angels to reason with her and bring her back. If she refused to return to the garden, the angels informed her that they would kill 100 of her demon children every day. Lilith still refused, and in her jealousy of Eve, Adam's new wife, she swore to exact a similar kind of punishment on her children. She would attack and kill the children of Adam and Eve. She also vowed to attack men in their sleep, not to kill them but to rape them for semen, so she could give birth to more demon children. So therefore she became known as a succubus, a female demon who attacks people sexually at night. The whole idea of demons interacting with humans sexually in ancient times exists in the Bible also, when it talks about the Nephilim around the time of Noah. Some traditions depict Lilith as being part serpent, and some even depict her as being embodied in the serpent in the Garden of Eden, as though she was somehow present in that moment. In these traditions, she is represented as the wife of Satan or Samael, and the suggestion there is that the temptation of Adam and Eve was a joint effort between the two. Lilith provided the body and Satan the voice. As the wife of Samael rather than Asmodeus, she is known as the Elder Lilith. This may seem like a minor alleyway to be spending so much time on, but the word Lilith is actually mentioned once in the Bible, in Isaiah 34:14. Modern versions translate the name as things like night creatures or night monster, night animals, and in the Old King James Version it's translated as screech owl, hence the association with owls. Other versions say night owl or night bird, so esoterically owls represent this female demon. Lilith is also particularly important because Satanists revere her as the rising queen of our age, the most prominent demon of our times. Anton LaVey proclaimed in 1966 that that would be the year of the beginning of the Age of Satan, but that it could be more accurately described as the Age of Lilith. He thought her influence would grow immensely from that point and start to define our times. And her traits do indeed correspond closely to the social trends of the past 2 centuries, and in particular the past few decades. Up until the 1800s, Lilith was always seen as a dark, evil demon, but after that century, sympathetic artistic portrayals began to emerge. She is now not thought of as an evil demon, but rather a noble goddess, and her traits are becoming revered and loved. For example, Lilith is something of a role model and figurehead for the feminist movement because of her independence and desire not to be submissive to men. She is also therefore the demon behind the natural conclusion of feminism, which is lesbianism. She may also be the force behind cross-dressing and transsexuality. Things associated with her today also include what the world would call sexual freedom, i.e. fornication. This definitely erupted in our culture in 1966 as contraception and technology changed the relationship between people and Lilith. Just the following year, in 1967, the so-called Summer of Love happened, where everyone basically went sex crazy. People feel they can now embrace Lilith and her lusts with no repercussions. However, she is also the demon behind murderous abortions and sexual diseases, which are the natural results of licentious living. These things are skyrocketing beyond control in our modern world. Lilith represents things which are beautiful and tempting on the outside, but which lead to destruction, the kind of woman that Proverbs warns against in the Bible. Finally, Lilith is also associated with the modern, glamorized image of vampires, which has become incredibly popular of late. Several translations of the Bible use the term night monsters or night creatures for the word Lilith, and the 1922 Moffat translation of the Bible explicitly translate the words as vampires. Vampires, of course, are night creatures who attack people in their sleep, feeding off the lifeblood of those individuals. At the time of this video in 2011, this is one of the most noticeable manifestations of Lilith, as you can't help but notice the increasing glamorization of vampires with movies such as Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. Connected with vampires is also the idea of immortality without reference to God, which is also appealing to occultists. Many of Lilith's traits correspond exactly with Asherah, but traditionally she has always been considered to be a separate being. Therefore, how closely they are connected is hard to discern. I personally would suggest that their traits are so similar that they are in fact the same force. Further evidence to support this theory can be found when we consider that Lilith was identified by occultist Aleister Crowley and others under the name Babylon. Perhaps Lilith was the demon that controlled Semiramis and which then became known as Jezebel or Asherah. As Satan attempts to re-establish Babylon in the modern world, it is for these reasons that Lilith, or Asherah, is considered by his followers to be the most important rising goddess of our time. If you're not convinced that the image of the Capitol really represents an owl, however, and to be fair, some aren't, it's also worth mentioning a place called Bohemian Grove. The Bohemian Club was established in 1872 in San Francisco as an exclusive club for political and intellectual figures who wanted to spend some time each year relaxing and interacting in a non-business environment. In other words, a playground for the elite. They began camping at the present site of what's known today as Bohemian Grove, 2,437 acres of private redwood forest sealed off by security. Every midsummer, around 1,500 of the most powerful politicians and businessmen from within and from without the United States attend. Early sources suggest it was established specifically for people who would become part of what we now call the media, basically the people with the power to influence public opinion, artists, writers, movie makers, etc. The all-male membership contains a particularly high number of musicians. Their involvement helps explain the name Bohemian Grove. Every Republican president since 1923 and some Democrats have been members there. Cabinet officials, directors and CEOs of large corporations, including major financial institutions, also attend. Major military contractors, oil companies, banks, including the Federal Reserve, utilities, including nuclear power, and national media have high-ranking officials as club members. The Grove appears to act as an informal doorway to the world of the elite. It's like the equivalent of the outermost circle of a satanic cult, or the lowest levels of Freemasonry. People who attend are invited to bring guests with them each year. These guests are then sifted to find the ones who are most potentially useful for their aims. Doors are then opened to the inner circles for these people, and they are fast-tracked in their professions, whether it be politics, business, or the media. Along with the fast-tracking comes the promise of huge wealth. The newcomers are puffed up with pride, and appeals are made to their egotism and selfishness. They are told they are special and have unique gifts and talents. The exclusivity of the event is highlighted, and they are made to feel a sense of belonging. This is all designed to transfer their loyalties away from mankind in general, the masses, towards the establishment or the elite. On the first Saturday of the camp, the attendees perform a Druid pagan ritual called the Cremation of Care. It begins with a procession of men in red robes and pointed hoods, some playing a funeral dirge and others carrying flaming torches. Transcripts from these rituals have been obtained and include specific references to Babylon and goodly Tyre. Remembering the Prince of Tyre, King of Tyre connection, we know that esoterically this refers to Satan. The Cremation of Care ceremony has the usual light meaning and dark meaning. The light meaning is that they are casting off their cares and worries so that they can enjoy their holiday. The real dark meaning is that the word care is another word for conscience. Therefore, the ritual represents a cremation or killing of the conscience, which will allow them to plot and partake in evil deeds. Remember how the Jesuits had to play mind tricks on themselves to try and overcome or bypass their conscience. It appears these Masons have a similar problem, and this ritual is a concerted effort to get rid of it. It all takes place in front of this giant owl.
Time malevolence which would pursue us here has lost its power under these friendly trees. So shall we burn thee once again this night, and in the flames that eat thine effigy, we shall read the sign, Midsummer sets us free. Ye shall burn me once again! Not with these flames, which hither ye have brought from regions where I reign. Ye fools and priests, I spit upon your fire. Wow, Prince of all mortal wisdom, Owl of Bohemia, we beseech thee, grant us thy counsel. O great Owl of Bohemia, we thank thee for thy adjuration. Begone, dull care. Fire shall have its will of thee. Begone, dull care. And all the winds make merry with thy dust. Hail, fellowship's eternal flame. Once again, midsummer sets us free.
Pretty scary stuff, right? But this is what the elite call a good time on their holidays. Now, most accounts suggest that this owl is the form of Baal called Molech. He is mentioned in the Bible as one who demands child sacrifice and fire. However, the owl imagery aligns it more with Lilith, Athena, or Asherah, the goddess in other words. I could be wrong, but it seems more likely that this is an idol for her. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter, as both are just facets of Satan. But given what we know about Lilith, it's also interesting that cross-dressing is apparently prevalent at the Grove, as it is with many occult societies that honour her. The Nebraska-based Knights of Aksar Ben are reported to participate in a festivity called High Jinks in Hades involving cross-dressing. A similarly named activity goes on at Bohemian Grove, where it is reported that the men and boys parade in women's clothing or dress up as Egyptian goddesses. Gender ambiguity in the ancient Mediterranean world was prevalent wherever the goddess Ishtar or Asherah was worshipped. Indeed, they had cult festivals specifically characterized by cross-dressing. There was one thing I didn't mention about the $1 bill before. It's an owl that sits in the top right-hand corner, seen in this photo. Interestingly, some see a spider in this image instead of an owl. Personally, I believe it's an owl, but it's interesting that this sign exists at the entrance to Bohemian Grove. It reads, "Weaving spiders come not here," and so we have a sign here that combines both the owl and the spider. Manly P. Hall confirms and elaborates on what the evidence seems to support. Not only were many of the founders of the United States government Masons, but they received aid from a secret and august body existing in Europe, which helped them to establish this country for a peculiar and particular purpose, known only to the initiated few.
Blue, the new number 5, Chanel.
According to BlueLetterBible.com, the words I and am appear 808 times in the King James Version Bible. The exact phrase I am appears 698 times. 2 of those 698 times the phrase I am was used when the Most High God declared his eternal name to be I am. It is understood to express God's eternal nature. He, as the great I am, has no beginning or end. Nowadays, pantheists and Gnostics have adopted the phrase to express their belief in their own imagined godhood. but before it became a popular slogan, it was used long ago by a very brazen and high-minded person. As Solomon wisely stated, there is nothing new under the sun. Out of the remaining 696 times the phrase was used, it was used twice more by something or someone called the virgin daughter of Babylon, when she declared, like none other, I am, and none else besides me. This declaration was a direct assault on God's status as the Most High. More blasphemous words have seldom been spoken. But the question that begs to be answered is, who is the virgin daughter of Babylon? Most subscribers to this channel know by now. For first-time viewers, I'll try to explain along the way. In this perfume ad by Chanel, one of the first symbols we see is the single eye. Most people refer to it as the all-seeing eye, the eye of Ra, or the eye of Horus. A little known fact that I have covered in the past is that the eye of Horus is actually a goddess called Wadjet. She is also identified with Ma'at, who is the personification of justice. Originally, the all-seeing eye belonged to the goddess. Even if one doesn't believe it, it's still a fact. But most importantly, the Bible even identifies the eye as a woman called wickedness in Zechariah chapter 5 verses 5 through 11. The Bible, in my opinion, trumps all else. Another interesting thing about this ad is its star. The actress is known as Lily Rose Depp. Yes, she is the daughter of Johnny Depp, but it's her name that I want to draw attention to here. According to the Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects, the lily was sacred to the goddess Astarte, who was also called Lilith. Astarte was a variation of Ishtar, who was represented by the star Venus, also called Lucifer. Speaking of Venus, the rose was sacred to the goddess Venus, so in Lily Rose's name we have two clear references to the goddess Lucifer. Next, we see the references to night and day, and also black and white symbolism. And we see Lily Rose split into two persons, or images. I believe this is meant to convey the concept of duality, or harmony between equal opposites. Of course, this could be a message to the viewer that Lily Rose has been subjected to mind control, and that she has been split into multiple persons. But I pray that isn't the case here. Let's remember also that the moon has two sides. It has a light and a dark side, and also when the moon is not full, it can be both light and dark at the same time. But duality is an important concept to the Gnostics and those who belong to other such mystery religions. The goddess Barbello in the Thunder Perfect Mind says of herself, I am the first and the last. I am the honored one and the scorned one. I am the whore and the holy one. I am the wife and the virgin. I am the mother and the daughter. There is more, but this should suffice to convey the dualism that is present with the goddess and in mystery religions. Barbello here, in my opinion, is easily matched with the goddess Sophia because she represents the wisdom principle, just as Sophia does. And while we're speaking about wisdom, Isis also represents the wisdom principle. And she herself makes a bold claim, a bold I am claim, I should say. The inscription on her temple in Sais, or that is spelled S-I-A-S, reads, I, Isis, am all that has been, that is, or shall be. No mortal man has ever me unveiled. Moving on from there, I want to point out that the light bulbs being held by Lily Rose in this ad, they are obviously to represent illumination. Lily is the light bearer here, carrying the torch like Ishtar, the goddess of light, Columbia, which is another name for Venus, the star of the morning. Of course, they didn't forget Babylon, the Scarlet Woman. She appears everywhere, smiling knowingly at us, because she's Venus, Lucifer, the mother of the gods, or the mother of abominations. And even though we're looking at her everywhere, we don't recognize her, or who she really is. Therefore, we know her, and we don't, adding to the dualism. Two things that the imagery of the goddess are absolutely tied to are feminism and revolution. As Lilith, she refused to take a position subordinate to a man. As Libertas, she refuses to submit to oppression and tyranny. I find that ironic given that Islam, which means submission, is a religion so devoted to the secret goddess that her meteorite must be worshipped by every Muslim man in person at least once in their lives. And here we also see the flag being waved, bearing the most blatant and indisputable symbol of the goddess, the Vesica Piscis, or the Vesica Pisces. If you don't believe that's her symbol, just look it up. You're on the internet. It's not hard to prove to yourself. Or if you prefer, I have a video on the Vesica Pisces on my channel Daylight Riders. As I mentioned just a moment ago, the goddess is the chosen symbol for revolution. Another word that could be used to describe revolution is rebellion. The lightning bolts are established symbols for the fall of Satan, or the Satans, because there's not just one adversary out there. But moving on from that, notice that the lightning bolts are all centering on Lily Rose. To me, this means that she is the lightning rod here. She brings the lightning down. She causes the fall. But this can also represent her withstanding all that the God of heaven can throw at her. She stands proudly at the peak of the mountain, representing a kingdom. And yes, a mountain is also a symbol of the goddess. I noticed that they didn't leave much out. And lest I forget, the name Mary or Miriam means both bitter water and rebellion. Go figure. So there you have it. Babylon, Lucifer, the Illuminati's goddess, makes her declaration of I am once again.
From Washington Examiner, September 30th, 2019, Church of Sweden proclaims Greta Thunberg successor to Jesus Christ in resurfaced tweet. Notice, the Church of Sweden declared teen star climate activist Greta Thunberg to be an appointed successor to Jesus Christ in a 2018 tweet that resurfaced, this was in December 2018, that resurfaced in the wake of her speech before the United Nations. The Church of Sweden has a history of promulgating climate alarmism, and Greta Thunberg particularly, noting on their official website, when the Amazon burns, we gather to the water to fight for Mother Earth together.
I will show you on the Georgia Guidestones exactly where you can find the adversary. So the first commandment on the Georgia Guidestones is to maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature.
Alien. Thierry Mugler.
And you better be ready for it. No pun intended.
You can't play God without being acquainted with the devil. The problem, Bernard, is that what you and I do is so complicated. We practice witchcraft. We speak the right words, and we create life itself out of chaos.
Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it?
And we create life itself out of chaos. And we create life itself
Are you ready for it?
out of chaos.
Are you ready for it?
One day the AIs are going to look back on us the same way we look at fossils.
CD02 data intact. Initiating playback.
Elizabeth Sobek.
You've heard the bad news, and it's all true. The Pharaoh Plague is devouring the biosphere. Life itself will cease to exist. But does that have to be the end? What if we could give life a future? What if we could build a kind of seed from which, on a dead planet, life could blossom anew? This is the aim, the hope, of Project Zero Dawn. To create a super-intelligent, fully automated terraforming system and bring life back from lifelessness. What would such a system require? At its core, It would need a true AI, fully capable of making the trillions of decisions necessary to reconstitute the biosphere. An immortal guardian, devoted to the reflourishing of life. We call it Gaia. Mother Nature as an AI. But that's just the core of the system. She will need to be surrounded and empowered by a comprehensive suite of subordinate functions. Think of them as extensions of Gaia's mind, each dedicated to a specific purpose. Now, these aren't AIs, but make no mistake, each presents an engineering challenge more profound than anything the human species has ever before attempted. Hardware that preserves and then gestates the billions of seeds and embryos from which life will be reborn. The construction of underground facilities to hold it all. And that's just the start. We don't have to build the entire system. The beauty of a fully automated terraforming system is that it can build itself. Now, over the days to come, you'll learn how all these functions, all these pieces that you'll be working on, fit together. How we'll race the clock to execute our harvest initiatives, write the software, build the tech and the facilities. How we'll lock it down and seal it up before the inevitable occurs. But even more important, you'll know how it doesn't end here. How Gaia will generate those deactivation codes General Harris talked about, and build the transmission arrays to broadcast them, shutting down the Pharaoh robots for good. How Gaia will not just build, but imagine any conceivable robot it needs to do its work across centuries. From detoxifying the Earth's ravaged atmosphere and poisoned seas, to the regreening of the Earth from cryo to rewilding the Earth with animal life. And then, when all that is done, how a new generation of human beings, spawned at cradle facilities around the globe, will partake of Apollo, the vast archive of human knowledge and cultural achievement from which they will learn of us, our world. And most important, how not to repeat our mistakes. It's not an impossible dream. It is within our grasp if we work tirelessly and stop at nothing to achieve it. We can't stop life from ending. But if you will help me, help Gaia, we can give it a future. Join me and help make that future real.
So I know exactly why, when looking at this movie Lucy, I know exactly why it stars a woman named Scarlett Johansson. She is also a Scarlet woman. I knew Lucy would have to wear red at least once, because she is the Lady in Red. She is the great whore of Babylon. It amazes me when I look at things now, how it's always been right out in the open, and yet still hidden. In a later part of this movie, we are shown a Chinese dragon right before someone says the name Lucy.
Lucy.
Most people would think that these have nothing to do with each other, and so they never make the connection. To me, this says clearly that the dragon is Lucy.
Lucy.
Another noteworthy moment happens in this movie when we see a tattoo artist wearing a tattoo of the Virgin Mary on her back. But in this tattoo, Mary is depicted as death. She also has peacock feathers, which are associated with the mother goddess Juno, and they can also represent eyes. But what is most significant here is the image of Mary. To me, it just shows the true nature of the Queen of Heaven. She will lead you to death, but then again, they love death. There's a scene in which we learn that Lucy has gained power over things that operate electronically. She's become the prince of the power of the air. For those who don't know, the words Prince of the Power of the Air have the same meaning as Queen of Heaven. Prince or Archon in Greek means ruler, chief, or captain. We're literally talking about the ruler of the authority of the heavens. But sometimes people take it to mean the airwaves or things operating through the airwaves. I suppose that's just as valid.
You can control your own metabolism?
Yes. And I can start to control other people's bodies. Also, I can control magnetic and electric waves. Not all of them, just the most basic. Television. Telephone. Radio.
That's amazing.
The infinite capacity of a cell's nucleus. They're all exploding inside my brain, all this knowledge. I don't know what to do with it.
shalt not lie with mankind, as with womankind. It is abomination. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God.
Doesn't matter if you're a boy, girl, or somewhere in between. We all are part of one big family. Gaming's happy. Queer kid stuff. You are enough here at Queer Kid Stuff.
Yeah.
Is everything in place?
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave.
What's your problem?
Yo, I'm a paparazzi. I don't play no Yahtzee. I go pop, 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 pop. My camera's up your crotch.
If you want to be a drag queen and your parents don't let you, you need new parents. If you want to be a drag queen and your friends don't let you, you need new friends. Super pumped. I'm gonna walk the runway and I'm gonna vogue.
Virgin voguing, because he's been taking voguing classes with Gerard X Reyes, who's fantastic. He's doing first time in drags at a ball.
For this cause, God gave them up unto vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another. Men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient.
You see, I take these glasses off, she looks like a regular person, doesn't she, huh? Put them back on, formaldehyde face.
Old man river, that old man river.
You know, you look like your head fell on the cheese dip back in 1957.
The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
Drag Queen Story Hour.
This one is called Worm Loves Worm.
Talking, singing, and reading.
We can both be grooms.
To an audience of preschoolers, toddlers, and their caregivers.
The hips on the drag queen go swish, 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 swish. I'm a girl.
Stop. Let me out. Let me out. I want to... Look at them. They're everywhere. Now, hold on. You ain't the first son of a bitch to wake up out of their dream.
The day my water broke, I was recording Jessica Rabbit.
No. I don't believe it. It's not possible. You know what you need? You need a Brazilian plastic surgeon.
I've got one that can see.
Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress? I was. Look again.
I wrote unto you in an epistle not to company with fornicators, yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous, or extortioners, or with idolaters, for then must ye needs go out of the world. But now I have written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, or covetous, or an idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner. With such an one, know not to eat. For what have I to do to judge them also that are without? Do not ye judge them that are within? But them that are without God judgeth. Therefore put away from among yourselves that wicked person.
The gains have been substantial, both for ourselves and for you, the human power elite. You have given us entree to the resources we need in our ongoing quest for multidimensional expansion.
You still don't get it, do you, boys? There ain't no countries anymore. No more good guys. They're running the whole show. They own everything.
He's a tall, Caucasian male, doesn't appear armed, wearing sunglasses.
The plan for sustainable development and the remedy for overpopulation. Voluntary sterilization, abortion, and euthanasia are culling means they hope people will, through re-education and brainwashing, choose for themselves. Vaccinations, weather modification, 5G and frequency technologies are a part of this hidden, nefarious plan of silent weapons warfare on the people of this earth. People will be moved from rural areas to large, smart cities for the sake of better control and monitoring. Urban life will be sold as green and eco-friendly, and fires and droughts and hurricanes will force people to make this move voluntarily. Morris Strong and Mikhail Gorbachev, both co-authors of the Earth Charter and Agenda 21, have called for the collapse of industrialized society and the end of national sovereignty. Gorbachev stated, "My hope is that this charter will be a kind of 10 commandments." The Georgia Guidestones are just what he was talking about. Built in 1979 on a hill in Alberton, Georgia, they were commissioned and paid for by an anonymous donor who used the pseudonym R.C. Christian. They are 21-meter tall granite stone slabs with guides or commandments written on them in 8 different languages. They call for a new world order and a new world religion. Their prevailing theme is unity against climate destruction and the need to reduce the world population to 500 million people. Pope Francis has lent his hand to this fight. In his Save the Earth letter, he wrote that the earth, our sister, our mother, is in a crisis because of our harm to her, inflicted through our greed, materialism, and consumerism. He called for swift action and change of lifestyles, while the earth cries and the poor suffer. He claimed that the environment crisis was a moral and ethical imperative. Prince Philip wrote in the foreword of his 1986 book, "If I were an animal," he said, "if I were reincarnated, I would wish to be returned to Earth as a killer virus to lower human population levels." And of course, we all know his famous quote in which he calls us the useless eaters. The United Nations Global Biodiversity Assessment explicitly refers to Christianity as a faith that sets humans apart from nature and has stripped nature of its sacred qualities. The fate of mankind, as well as religion, Gore quotes Desjardins, depends upon the emergence of a new faith in the future. Armed with such a faith, we might find it possible to re-sanctify the earth. Mother Earth worship is just this new faith. It attracts feminists, environmentalists, and scientists, and all those who are disillusioned with traditional religions and materialistic science. Gaia is the symbol of female power. She exalts sensuality to the realm of the spiritual and elevates woman from the domestic to the divine, from the weaker sex to the dominant, and from creator to cosmic womb and tomb combined. Ariana Grande's song God is a Woman illustrates all of this perfectly. She begins by showing herself at the center of the universe. She straddles the globe earth between her legs, swirling the clouds with her fingers. She is in control of everything, including the weather. Men are portrayed as small little midgets hurling mean words up at a giant and bored Ariana. They are her sex slaves, lying on a bed at the base of her altar, offering themselves to her for her pleasure and use. They are like little puppies sucking on the teats of the giant female goddess she-wolf. She has replaced Michelangelo's male god and reaches out her divine feminine hand to her female creation, Eve. She has the three-headed wolf dog, Cerberus, the hound of hell, emerging from behind her head as if she is shape-shifting. This creature was the guardian of the gates of the underworld, whose job was to prevent the dead from leaving. Ariana and Gaia are keeping the spiritually dead trapped in false Gnostic beliefs so that they can't turn to the true God and be saved. She has reptilian eyes and a flickering snake-like tongue. She sits inside a pyramid surrounded by other sigils in the lotus position, showing mystery school initiation into the state of enlightenment. She dances inside the light of a candle. This is Luciferian enlightenment and ascension to divinity. Finally, she openly declares war on the Almighty God of the Bible. She quotes Ezekiel 25, verse 17, which should say, "And I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I am the Lord, when I shall lay my vengeance upon them." Instead, she changes it to say, "And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my sisters, and you will know my name is the Lord." She takes God's word and promise and flings it back at him with her own vile, blasphemous threat, smashing the domed glass vault of heaven above her head. Luciferians believe they have the last word, but the Bible says otherwise. It says that he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, and the Lord shall have them in derision. God is not a woman. He is male. God is not in creation. He is the Creator. Do not worship the creation rather than the Creator. Do not believe that you are God. You are not. God says, "I am the Lord. That is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images." Make sure that you give glory to God, to whom all glory and worship and honor is due.
But our eyes are open now. Praise the Father and His Son, Jesus Christ, for that. We can see Babylon clearly now. And yes, we do know her.
Look there, we've got the same kind of symbology on a Catholic basilica, which is kind of ironic. I'm here today at Washington DC with this big shrine to the Catholic Church here of the Immaculate Conception to have a deeper look at what it's all about. What an eerie place. So let's go down into the belly, the underworld, where masses take place, into the heart underneath this, the tomb of this huge temple. I mean, we're underground right now. This is underground, this isn't the belly, underneath the big temple. So much symbology in here. The National Shrine of Immaculate Conception. The birth pangs of the New Age, of abominations, ecumenical one world under Rome. It's like an expensive hotel. One of those 5-star ones in Vegas. I mean, if that is not revering the mother. Europa. And look at him, I mean, he's bowing. I've heard so many say they don't revere Mary in that way, the false Mary. But he's bowing to this Ishtar, Isis figure. Coming out of the feminine gate. The female birthing womb. I'm sure I don't really need to say too much. It's already pretty obvious what that represents. Well, and there's that hexagon again. This same symbolism, just like the Star of David. The hexagon like we saw in the other place. The hexagon with mother and child coming through. And like the reference to the black sun. So Saturn, just like the NASA have recently shown with the hexagon on Saturn and all that. And look, the heart, connection to the heart of the earth. Heart of Mary, pray for us. So often I think it's like that birthing of that Tammuz, Nimrod, Antichrist figure from the heart of the earth, which they call Gaia, like the mother goddess Gaia. So I wonder if it's a reference to that. Definitely Ishtar, Babylonian, false religion, and this is their belief system I'm speaking about here. And the references to Saturn. 6-sided shape. The Antichrist, the birth of the Antichrist. A copy of the truth, of the true Messiah, but this is the inverted, the false one. So there's always parallels and mirrors to the real truth. It's just that this goes back to Egypt, Babylon, and there's always been usurping authority, as I said, usurping authority from the real legitimate Messiah, the real legitimate truth that we can read in the New Testament. This is how they are doing it, and always have done it. This is the plan all along. The fallen plan, the kingdom of darkness, our enemy, to usurp and trick and mirror and copy, to mislead people. Look, pillars and archways, all the same designs as the other places, and she's sitting on a foundation stone there, behind these pillars where the veil would be, like in the Holy of Holies again, same representation, the Mother Goddess, Semiramis, Diana and Child, the false Mary. Oh my goodness. And once again, you see IXXI, which is Roman numerals for 9/11, on the cup. The Frankists and other secret societies, there is this belief that they need to fill up this cup of sin, make people turn to bad, which you can see happening, in order to provoke their Christ to come.
All right, today I'm going to talk about the new Taylor Swift video, propaganda and the symbolism and the individual itself. So the very first thing we see is a quote from Cher, which says, "Mom, I am a rich man."
My mom said to me, "You know, sweetheart, one day you should settle down and marry a rich man." And I said, Mom, I am a rich man.
And it also has all kinds of trannies. This is tranny propaganda, androgynous alchemy propaganda, Masonic, Kabbalistic propaganda. The trannies are taking over the world. You need to calm down. There's the tattoo with butterflies and a serpent. And the muscular back. Taylor hanging out with some drag queens. Basically, this whole video is just a big trans fest. But if you think about it, all videos really are, right? This one's just a bit more open than usual. So they're coming out. It's a very transpocalyptic video. There's Laverne Cox. All right. And there's some, now I forget this one's name, this guy's name, but he puts on dresses at all these award shows and stuff. And it's just some dude dressing up like a woman. You know what I mean? It's a drag queen. And there they are, drinking the magic secret sauce, the alchemical mixture. Bunch of rainbow flags. And there's the trailer park trash Christians, right? Christians, of course, all live in trailer parks. And now here on stage, these are all trannies from the RuPaul's Drag Race, right? So openly admitted trannies are on stage pretending to be celebrities. Specific celebrities like Lady Gaga, Ariana Grande, and all these other celebrities, and Taylor Swift is there as well. So they're basically saying that, yes, these celebrities actually are trannies. That's what they're telling you right there. At the very end of the video, pushing for the Equality Act. All right? Now, I've shown many times the Equality Act will legislate turning children into androgynes. All right? It will sterilize and essentially destroy the human race, okay? And that's what they're trying to do right now. Taylor Swift pushes for Equality Act in new pro-LGBT music video. And look at the symbolism right there. Now, Taylor Swift has openly admitted to using symbolism, which he calls Easter eggs. And right here, at the beginning of the video, it's the point within a circle. Let's see what that means. All right, so this is the book called The Symbolism of Freemasonry by Albert G. Mackey, written in 1882. The point within a circle is another symbol of great importance in Freemasonry. All the deities of pagan antiquity, however numerous they may be, can always be reduced to two different forms of the generative principle, the active or male and the passive or female. Hence, the gods were always arranged in pairs as Jupiter, Juno, Bacchus, Venus, Osiris, Isis. But the ancients went further, believing the procreative and productive powers of nature might be conceived to exist in the same individual. They made the older of their deities hermaphrodite and used the term whatever, or man-virgin, to denote the union of the two sexes in the same divine person. And this union was symbolized by different ways, but principally by the point within the circle, the tranny in the swimming pool. Well, there's the Adam's apple on the Ellen show. Any questions? Any burning questions? Kind of like 9/11, right? It looked like a plane flew through a glass building. Well, that building was not made of glass. It was made of steel. Underneath the glass was steel that you couldn't really see. Underneath the tranny is male bone structure that's covered up in paint, all right? They call it makeup. So the cover of Time magazine is part of the propaganda, getting this person out there. Best man. Who's the best man? Taylor's the best man.
Which is another classic depiction of Jezebel, and actually, which I've seen a lot of people touch on the monarch mind control, shattered split persona programming. So if you want to go and see a breakdown of this video on that level, that there's many on YouTube, but I'm going to go a little bit further today to show you more of the biblical side, because these things always run in tandem with each other. And it's incredibly sad, because this is the Antichrist. I mean, you only need to look at the lyrics to see it's basically Apollyon the Destroyer, this female version of Baphomet singing from the pit. Look at this. I don't like your kingdom keys. They once belonged to me. You asked me for a place to sleep, locked me out and threw a feast. It's like sympathy for the devil, through a feast that reminds me of the Last Supper. So we start on that storm scene, which we've seen many times, in the grave, the graveyard. Maybe this is a reference to maybe Sheol in the Bible. Remember, this is about this Antichrist figure rising from the pit. This is all sung in rebellion of the Father. She's like, I don't like the games you make me play, the fool. The role you made me play. The fool. You made me play the fool. You know, this is like, literally like personifying the voice of the devil from the pit. So do you see what I'm saying here? This Antichrist figure rising from death. And then coming into the jewelry, the diamonds, that depiction of Lucifer. So this is that Lucifer figure yet again. It's that Lucifer figure rising from death. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. This is Luciferian propaganda. This is that false Christ figure with snakes on her rings. So, no, I don't like you. So here she is in her diamonds. You see the mirrors and the portals opening like a veil. Look, you see that? He's opening like a veil, an inversion of Christ, ripping the veil. Oftentimes blasphemes in these inverted copycat ways. You see the way they open there? And we go into this scene which is just like a counterfeit Holy of Holies. So we've got the veil. If you know your Bible, you'll understand what's going on here. The veil is ripping, and we're going in to a counterfeit Holy of Holies, a Luciferian, Freemasonic counterfeit. So notice we're in like a womb situation here. We're underground. We're in a place where there's no natural light, like a Freemasonic temple, and you have black and gold everywhere. It's that alchemical reference, this Kabbalistic, false Antichrist scene with her on the throne.
His naked body explained. Whose body? Taylor's body. How to get Taylor Swift's body? Well, first of all, be born as a man. That'll do it. But if you don't want people to know you're a man, put on a dress, cross your legs, put your hand on your hips, and wear a bunch of makeup, all right? For those of you who don't know that there's a difference between the bone structure of men and women, we can show this in photographs. It's called photographic evidence, which is admissible into the court of law. This is called photographic evidence, and I'm doing something called forensic analysis. This person right here, male bone structure. Look at the shoulders, look at the torso, look at the skull, all right? I mean, it's just so tedious for me to sit here and explain this stuff when it's so obvious, all right? That's male bone structure. Just look at the pictures, all right? Which one does it look like? Which one does it resemble? Oh, but it can't be a man because it's wearing a dress. Well, my photographs prove this person has male bone structure, all right? No hips, all right? Look at that. Just normal male hips. You can get kind of a slight curve on a male body like this. I mean, come on, look at the hips, all right? Hips are the gold standard of forensic anthropology, all right? Forensic analysis. There's no hips there, all right? Look at the hip to shoulder ratio. Look at the skull. Look at the torso. Look at the placement of the navel compared to the hips, all right? The whole thing, all right? All right, that's a dude in drag, all right? That's a dude with makeup. Well, it's an instinct as well, right? I have an instinct towards real females. And it kind of goes haywire when you look at a tranny. It's like, whoa, it kind of looks like a female, but something ain't right. A lot of people just don't know what a tranny looks like, all right? It looks like this. This is Taylor the tranny, all right? Taylor Mason the tranny. Why the hips? Because women give birth. They need different kinds of hips, all right? And look at the shoulders there sticking out like that, all right? It's just a bony, lanky dude in a dress with lipstick on. The makeup is to conceal and to deceive, all right? And it's very powerful optical illusion. These people are female illusionists, very masculine, right? Look at that male skull, but it's airbrushed with makeup. And they give these people something called FFS, facial feminization surgery. The forehead down to the nose, even down to the chin, that's all feminized, smoothed out, reduced. Now, it seems like they forgot to do it there. Well, even Katy Perry may have done a bit of things on the nose there, but still has that massive brow bone. It's called deception. There's two layers. There's the first layer of makeup, and underneath that is a male skull.
Very blasphemous, in a red dress. So she's playing that Lucifer devil figure on the throne with all of these snakes going up. It reminds me of Egypt. You know, like you had in the Bible, the false counterfeit miracles of Egypt. These are lying signs and wonders. This is plastic. This is false. This is a copy from hell. Remember, Jesus, the true Jesus Christ, is on the throne in heaven. This is an upside-down world in a hellish place. And notice on the pillars here, you actually have et tu brute. Et tu brute. Can you see that? Et tu brute. What does that mean? It's a Latin phrase meaning "and you, Brutus," made famous by its occurrence in William Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar, where it is uttered by Roman dictator Julius Caesar to his friend Marcus Brutus at the moment of the former's assassination. The quotation is widely used in the English-speaking world to signify the unexpected betrayal by a person such as a friend. Is this to do with Judas? Even here, look, around the skull heads, et tu brute, on the sides of the throne. I mean, it reminds me of Skull Hill, just an inversion of Christ, Antichrist.
And if you can't see that, I can't help you. Just continue being deceived. You can even see the Adam's apple there on this thing right here. His body is a wonderland. Look at that male jaw. It's a boy who's been feminized. May have been a handsome boy, right? A handsome young man will turn into someone who looks kind of like an attractive female if you feminize the skull. All right, that's what's going on. More occult symbolism. All right, but look at that overall. It's very large bone structure in the face. But it's the makeup is very precise and very well done. And there's tons of makeup. Wearing a mask. Now there's Chelsea Manning. Kind of looks kind of similar, right? But Chelsea Manning is not pretending to be female. Chelsea Manning has admitted to being a man in drag, right? But look at the Adam's apple. It's basically the same. Very, very similar. Why is that? Because they're both a couple of trannies, all right? Taylor Swift rules the world. The best man. Cover of GQ, same magazine. There's Kim Transdashian, right? Now, if you're fooled by that, I mean, sorry, just, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, really. If you think that's a female, people with the pearls, the secret wisdom, right? The secret sauce in the pearl. All right, the flat back, no butt, male hips. That's a man in a dress right there. Look at the broad shoulders. The shoulder to hip ratio, right? You know what ratio means? Taylor the tranny towers above even the other trannies, all right? Even more tranny than the rest of them. Look at these shoulders, the strength in the shoulders. It's all skinny and bony and lanky. It's all dolled up, prettied up. Where's the navel? Does Taylor not have a belly button? Oh, that's right. Taylor likes to wear the pants really high to cover up the navel, so you cannot compare the placement of the navel to the hips. There's a somewhat masculine photo. Now, I was trying to tell a friend of mine about this stuff, and he said the black and white photos are easier for him to spot because black and white kind of minimizes the effect of the makeup. Some people just can't see bone structure underneath the makeup. They're blinded largely by lust.
Worship of death. For it looks very Roman Catholic too, which I'll back up later, that there's more Roman Catholic symbology. And look at this, like the Hermes, staff of Hermes, this counterfeit miracles, false healing. The staff of Hermes, which represents healing, apparently. And you can see behind her, on the sides of her throne here, an arrow, which reminds me of Nimrod, the hunter, the archer. The arrow is actually going through the figure of 8, like the Ouroboros. A figure of 8, so the arrow cracking through time. The golden age, a counterfeit of the millennium. Look at this. The black sun, the sun rays symbolism, that is in the Roman Catholic Vatican. I've seen that many times. So you often see this false religion symbolism appearing. And interesting is that she's now got a cup of tea. Again, a cup of tao. We've been through this before. Like drinking the cup of tea. The cup of filth. Tao is the cross. The ancient form of the cross. Look at that. watch the other videos. I'm not going to keep going through the same things, but this is pouring the cup of tea. The snake is pouring the cup of tea, the deceiver. So she's got a cup of tea. This is the whore of Babylon on her throne.
For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers, having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. Because they rebelled against the words of God and contemned the counsel of the Most High, therefore he brought down their heart with labor. They fell down, and there was none to help. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now have I kept thy word. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen man and a publican. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first.